Chapter 7 of The Boarded Up House. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nolan Fout. The Boarded Up House by Augusta Huiell, SEAMAN. Chapter 7. Goliath Makes Another Discovery. "Oh, Cynthia," gasped Joy at length, "isn't it too comical? We're just as far from it all as ever!" And they both fell to chuckling again. They were certainly no nearer the solution of their problem, for, facing the room once more, the mysterious picture looked forth, the portrait of two babies. They were plump, placid babies, aged probably about 2 or 3 years, and they appeared precisely alike. It took no great stretch of imagination to conjecture what they were. Twins, and evidently brother and sister, for one youngster's dress being a trifle severe in style indicated that it was doubtless a boy. These two cherubic infants had both big brown eyes, fat red cheeks, and adorable fluffy golden curls. They were pictured as sitting hand in hand on a green bank under a huge spreading tree and gazing solemnly toward a distant church steeple. "The poor little things!" cried Cynthia. "Think of them having been turned to the wall all these years! Now what is the sense of it? Two innocent babies like that!" But Joyce had not been listening. All at once she put down her candle on the table and faced her companion. "I've got it!" she announced. "It came to me all of a sudden. Of course those babies were twins, brother and sister. Any one can tell that. Well, don't you see? One of them, the girl, was our lovely lady. The other was her twin brother. It's as all clear as day. The twin brother did something she didn't like, and she turned his picture to the wall. Hers happened to be on the same frame too, but she evidently didn't care about it. Now what have you to say, Cynthia Spragg?" "You must be right," admitted Cynthia. "I thought we were stumped again when I first saw that picture, but it's been of some use after all. Do you suppose the miniature was a copy of the same thing?" "It may have been, or perhaps it's just the brother alone when he's older. We can't tell about that." All this while Cynthia had been standing, candle in one hand and dustcloth in the other. At that point she put the candlestick on the table and stood gazing intently at the dustcloth. Presently she spoke. "Joyce, do you think there would be any harm in my doing something I've longed to do ever since we first entered this house?" "What in the world is it?" queried Joyce. "Why, I want to dust this place, and clear out of the way some of the dirt and cobwebs. They worry me terribly, and besides, I'd like to see what this lovely furniture looks like without such quantities of dust all over it." "Good scheme, Cyn!" cried Joyce, instantly delighted with the new idea. "I'll tell you what, we'll come in here this afternoon with old clothes on and have a regular house cleaning. It can't hurt anything, I'm sure, for we won't disturb things at all. I'll bring a dustcloth too, and an old broom. But let's go and finish our studying now, and get that out of the way. Hurrah for house cleaning this afternoon!" Filled with fresh enthusiasm, the two girls rushed out to hurry through the necessary studies before the anticipated picnic of the afternoon. If their respective mothers had requested them to perform so arduous a task as this at home, they would, without doubt, have been instantly plunged into deep despair. But since they were to execute the work on an old deserted mansion saturated with mystery, no pleasure they could think of was to be compared with it. This thought, however, did not enter the heads of the enthusiastic pair. Smuggling the house-cleaning paraphernalia into the cellar window unobserved that afternoon proved no easy task, for Cynthia had added a whisk broom and dustpan to the outfit. Joyce came to the fray with an old broom and dustcloth, which later she thought she had carefully concealed under her sweater, but a long end soon worked out and trailed behind her unnoticed till Goliath, basking on the veranda steps, spied it. The lure proved too much for him, and he came sporting after it as friskily as a young kitten, much to Cynthia's delight when she caught sight of him. "Oh, let him come along," she urged. "I do love to see him about that old house. He makes it sort of cozier. And besides, he seems to belong to it anyway. You know, he discovered it first." And so Goliath followed into the boarded-up house. They began on the drawing room. Before they had been at work very long, they found that they had let themselves in for a bigger task than they had dreamed. Added to that, performing it by dim candlelight did not lessen its difficulties, but rather increased them tenfold. First they took turns sweeping as best they could with a very ancient and frowsy broom the thick, moth-eaten carpet. When they had gone over it once, and had taken up what seemed like a small cartload of dust, they found that, after all, there remained almost as much as ever on the floor. Cynthia was for going over it again. "Oh, never mind it," sighed Joyce. "My arms ache, and so do yours. We'll do it again some other time. Now let's dust the furniture and pictures." And they fell to work with a whisk broom and dust cloths. Half an hour later, exhausted and grimy, they dropped into chairs and surveyed the results. It was, of course, as but a drop in a bucket in comparison with all the scrubbing and cleaning that was needed. Yet, little as it was, it had already made a vast difference in the aspect of the room. Surface dust at least had been removed, and the fine old furniture gave a hint of its real elegance and polish. Joyce glanced at the big hanging candelabrum and sighed with weariness. Then she suddenly remarked, "Cynthia, we have the dimmest light here with only these 2 candles. Why not have some more burning?" "We only have 3 left," commented Cynthia, practical as ever, "and my pocket money is getting low again, and you haven't any left, as usual. So we'd better economize till allowance day." "Tell you what," cried Joyce, freshly inspired, "I have the loveliest idea. Don't you just long to know what this room would look like with that big candelabrum going? I do. They say illumination by candlelight is the prettiest in the world. Sometime I'm going to buy enough wax candles to fill that whole chandelier, or candelabrum rather, and we'll light it just once to see how it makes things look. What do you say?" "It'll cost you a good deal more than $1," remarked Cynthia, after an interval spent in calculation. "Of course I'd like to see it too, so I'll go halves with you on the expense. And I don't believe that we can get nice wax candles, only penny tallow ones, but they'll have to do. I wonder, though, if people could see the lights from the street through any chinks in the boarding." "Of course not," said Joyce. "Don't you see how all the inside shutters are closed and the velvet curtains drawn? It isn't possible." "Then we'll have the illumination for a treat some time, and I'll begin to save up for it, and I hope before that time we'll have puzzled out this mystery. I'm afraid we aren't very good detectives, or we'd have done it long before this. Sherlock Holmes would have." "But remember," suggested Cynthia, "that those Sherlock Holmes mysteries are usually solved very soon after the thing happened. This took place years and years ago. I reckon we're doing pretty nearly well as Sherlock, when you come to think of it." "Perhaps that's so," admitted Joyce thoughtfully. "It's not so easy after goodness knows how many years. But I'm rested now. Come and see what we can do with the library. I'm wild to look at the lovely lady again. I really think I love that picture." "She's lovely, lovely, lovely," sighed Joyce. "Oh, wouldn't I like to have known her! And do you notice, Cynthia, she has the same big brown eyes of the baby girl in the parlor. There isn't a doubt but what that baby was she." They tore themselves away from the portrait after a time, and commenced digging at the dust and cobwebs of the library. But they were thoroughly tired after their heroic struggles in the drawing room, and made, on the whole, but little progress. Added to this, their enthusiasm for cleaning up had waned considerably. "I guess we'll have to leave this for another day," groaned Joyce at last. "I'm just dog-tired." "All right," assented Cynthia in muffled tones, her head being under a great desk in the corner. "But wait till I finish sweeping out under here. Mercy! What is that? I just touched something soft." On the instant Joyce was at her side with a candle. "Why, it's Goliath, as usual!" they both cried, peering in. "Isn't he the greatest for getting into odd corners?" Far at the back sat Goliath, curled in a comfortable ball, his front paws tucked under, and purring loudly. "He's sitting on an old newspaper, I think," said Joyce. "He always does that when he can find one, because they're warm." Suddenly she snatched the paper so violently that Goliath went tobogganing off with a protesting meow. "Look, look, Cynthia!" she exclaimed, brushing off a cloud of dust with the whisk broom, and pointing to the top of the sheet. "Here's one of the biggest discoveries yet." And Cynthia, following her index finger, read aloud, Tuesday, April 16th, 1861. "Which proves," added Joyce, "that whatever happened here didn't take place much earlier than this date, or the paper wouldn't be here. What we want to do now is hunt around and see if there are any newspapers of a later date. Let's do it this minute." Forgetting all their weariness, they seized their candles and scurried through the house, finding an occasional paper tucked away in some odd corner. But upon examination these all proved to be of an earlier date than that of their first discovery, and when it was clear that there were no more to be found, Joyce announced, "Well, I'm convinced that the boarded-up house mystery happened not earlier than April 16th, 1861, and probably not much later. That's over 40 years ago, for this is 1905. Just think, Cynthia, of this place standing shut up and untouched and lonely all that time. It's wonderful." But Cynthia had turned and snatched up Goliath. "You precious cat," she crooned to him as he struggled unappreciatively in her embrace. "You are the best detective of all. We ought to change your name to Sherlock Holmes." End of chapter 7.